The emergency services cannot open the door. Call the fire department to open the door. A group of onlookers has gathered around the scene. Concerned residents reported cries for help coming from a neighboring apartment. Location, Northwest Ridgetop Lane. The person was successfully rescued and now requires medical attention. The person is having a severe heart attack and needs to be treated quickly. Police Patrol Car 1 has arrived at medical emergency behind closed doors and is awaiting instructions. Fire Engine 2 has arrived at medical emergency behind closed doors and is awaiting instructions. The scene was secured. Police Patrol Car 6 has arrived at additional task and is awaiting instructions. Reports have been received regarding a naked man in public. Dispatch officers to assess the situation. Location, Northwest Edward Court. The cries for help from an apartment on the first upper floor were confirmed. The emergency services must gain access to the apartment. The door was not opened for the emergency services. Another way in must be found. The damage caused by the deployment must be recorded. Access to the apartment was gained and an injured person was found. The onlookers were dispersed. The emergency doctor arrived too late and could only pronounce the patient dead. The damage was documented. The injured person has received medical treatment. One person needs to be taken to the hospital. Roof tiles are threatening to fall onto the street from a residential building. Eliminate the hazard as quickly as possible. Location, Northwest Charles Street. Attention, heat wave. High temperatures lead to more health problems. It was a false alarm. The man was wearing clothes in a color similar to his skin tone. The injured person has received medical treatment. The hazard has been eliminated. Smoke detector has reported the development of smoke. It must be checked whether a fire has broken out. Location, Northwest Craig Drive. A tree has caught fire and must be extinguished quickly before the fire spreads. Location, Northwest Aberdeen Drive. The emergency responders entered the building and determined that it was a false alarm. A crowd of people has gathered, making the work of the emergency services more difficult. An elderly person called emergency services complaining of severe shortness of breath and a stabbing pain in the chest. Location, Northwest West Union Road. The fire has been successfully extinguished. Fire Engine 2 has arrived at additional task and is awaiting instructions. The injured person has received medical treatment. One person needs to be taken to the hospital. The crowd was successfully brought under control. Fire Engine 1 has arrived at additional task and is awaiting instructions. A small plane has crashed into a residential building. The building must be checked for injured people. Location, Northwest Chenna Drive. There are 3 people on the plane that need to be rescued. A possible drug deal between 2 people was reported. The situation needs to be investigated. Location, Northwest Jocelyn Street. Accident involving a cyclist and a car has been reported. Some of the people involved are trapped. Location, Northwest Bethany Boulevard. The scene of the incident must be secured against oncoming traffic. A person has reported that their bicycle has been stolen. Evidence must be secured. Location, Northwest Forest Avenue. No one was found in the building. Police Patrol Car 2 has arrived at traffic accident with personal injury and is awaiting instructions. Police Patrol Car 3 has arrived at drug dealing and is awaiting instructions. A cyclist was seriously injured in the accident. The person has been freed from the vehicle and now needs medical attention. Start recording the details of the accident. The passengers rescued from the plane have sustained serious injuries requiring medical attention. The scene of the incident was successfully secured. The assigned emergency services cannot complete the task accident report and are waiting for new instructions. We have received several calls reporting an apartment fire. Location, Northwest Audrey Drive. The officer saw a drug deal taking place. All persons involved must be arrested. The damage was documented. The injured have received medical treatment. 2 people need to be taken to the hospital. There are several people inside the burning building. The dealer was arrested. A person with circulatory problems is stuck in a ride at a great height and needs to be freed. Location, Northwest 63rd Terrace. The buyer was arrested. Emergency Ambulance 2 has arrived at traffic accident with personal injury and is awaiting instructions. has arrived at apartment fire and is awaiting instructions. The injured person has received medical treatment. The injured person has received medical treatment. One person needs to be taken to the hospital. A group of onlookers has gathered around the scene. Ladder Truck 1 has arrived at emergency on a fairground ride and is awaiting instructions. Police Patrol Car 5 has arrived at bicycle theft and is awaiting instructions. The fire has been successfully extinguished. The person was successfully rescued and now requires medical attention. A slippery surface caused by an oil spill was reported at an intersection. Location, Northwest Claremont Drive. Several people have sustained minor injuries. Several people have sustained serious injuries and require medical attention. Ambulance 1 has arrived at apartment fire and is awaiting instructions. The witness statements were recorded. The evidence could not be secured in time, and the perpetrator can no longer be found. The persons have received medical treatment. The injured have received medical treatment. One person needs to be taken to the hospital. The scene was secured. There is a fire in the kitchen of an apartment building. The stairwell is filled with smoke and one person is missing. Location, Northwest Perimeter Drive. There are still some residents trapped above the apartment where the fire broke out who need to be evacuated. Explore the surroundings and provide feedback to the control center. The oil spill has been successfully cleaned up. The onlookers were dispersed. The assigned emergency services cannot complete the task evacuation of residents and are waiting for new instructions. The assigned emergency services cannot complete the task exploration and are waiting for new instructions. The injured person suffered more severe injuries and is now being treated by another emergency service. The fire has been extinguished. Begin investigating the cause of the fire. The residents were successfully evacuated. Roof tiles are threatening to fall onto the street from a residential building. Eliminate the hazard as quickly as possible. Location: Northwest 667th Place. The assigned emergency services cannot complete the task, fire investigation, and are waiting for new instructions. A group of onlookers has gathered. There is still one person inside the apartment. The rescued person requires urgent medical attention. The injured person has received medical treatment. The crowd was successfully brought under control. The hazard has been eliminated. Police Patrol Car 6 has arrived at additional task and is awaiting instructions. Attention storm, strong winds can uproot trees, damage gas pipes, and cause power cuts. Multiple reports indicate that a vehicle has crashed into a residential house. Dispatch officers to assess the situation. Location Northwest Aberdeen Drive. A water pipe has burst in a residential building. Turn off the water and pump the basement dry. Location, Northwest Claremont Drive. Traffic accident has been reported. The scene must be secured and traffic redirected. Location, Northwest Aberdeen Drive. Engine 1 has arrived at vehicle crashes into residential house and is awaiting instructions. Fire Engine 2 has arrived at water in basement after a burst pipe and is awaiting instructions. The water was turned off. Further assessment revealed a vehicle had rolled into the exterior wall of the house, causing minimal damage, which must now be documented. A car has crashed into a fire hydrant. The vehicle is badly damaged and water is flooding the area, but no injuries have been sustained. The water supply must be shut off and the situation further assessed. Location, Northwest 159th Terrace. The damage was documented. Several people were injured in the accident and require medical treatment. Onlookers are walking onto the road and obstructing emergency services. A person is trapped in the vehicle and must be freed using hydraulic equipment. Further damage was prevented. The injured have received medical treatment. 3 people need to be taken to the hospital. The police on site have dispersed the onlookers. Emergency services are no longer obstructed. The trapped person was successfully rescued. An exhibitionist has exposed himself to passers-by and must be apprehended. Location, Northwest St. Andrews Drive. Police Patrol Car 5 has arrived at Exhibitionist and is awaiting instructions. A cat is stuck in a tree and needs to be rescued. Location, Northwest Co-Court. No suspect could be found. Witnesses must be interviewed regardless, and a report must be filed. The water supply has been shut off and the damage has been documented for insurance purposes. The witness statements were recorded. Ladder Truck 2 has arrived at Cat Stuck in Tree and is awaiting instructions. The cat has been rescued. person who threw the firecracker must be arrested. Location, Northwest 153rd Terrace. A thrown firecracker has hit and injured a person. A building is on fire and needs to be extinguished. Location, Northwest 163rd Terrace. A crowd of people has formed around the burning building. Police Patrol Car 7 has arrived at additional task and is awaiting instructions. The perpetrator was successfully arrested. A house fire has been reported. The occupants are still unaccounted for. Location, Northwest Perimeter Place. Injured people have been located and require treatment. The fire has been successfully extinguished, but the emergency services on-site suspect arson. After questioning witnesses, suspects have to be arrested. The injured person has received medical treatment. 5 people need to be taken to the hospital. The crowd is now at a safe distance from the fire. Fire Engine 2 has arrived at House Fire and is awaiting instructions. The assigned emergency services cannot complete the task, search the building, and are waiting for new instructions. The fire has been successfully extinguished. Neighbors report hearing cries for help coming from an elderly person in a nearby apartment. Speak with the caller and locate the apartment. Location, Northwest 166th Drive. The perpetrator was successfully arrested. People have been located inside the building and must now be rescued by the fire department. The door is locked and must be opened by the fire department using specialized equipment. Fire Engine 1 has arrived at helpless person in their apartment and is awaiting instructions. The occupants have been rescued from the burning building and now require medical attention. The person found has sustained minor injuries from a fall and also appears to be somewhat disoriented due to dehydration. They require basic medical care. A teenager has become stuck in a baby swing. Observe the situation and decide how to free them. Location, Northwest 147th Avenue. The injured person suffered more severe injuries and is now being treated by another emergency service. Ambulance 1 has arrived at burning building and is awaiting instructions. Ambulance 3 has arrived at burning building and is awaiting instructions. The persons have received medical treatment. Attention, slippery roads, poor weather conditions can lead to more accidents. The person has received medical treatment. Has been reported involving a public bus. The bus driver is trapped and needs to be rescued. Location, Northwest Rigidop Lane. Several people have minor injuries. Several people were seriously injured and require medical attention. Has crashed into a fire hydrant. The vehicle is badly damaged and water is flooding the area, but no injuries have been sustained. The water supply must be shut off and the situation further assessed. Location, Northwest Telshire Drive. Police Patrol Car 4 has arrived at additional task and is awaiting instructions. Choose to use either the Halligan tool or the jaws of life to pry the swing apart. The bus engine caught fire. The persons have received medical treatment. The engine was successfully extinguished and prevented from spreading. The bus is losing fuel. The accident site was successfully secured. The bus driver was freed and requires medical attention. The teenager has been successfully freed from the baby swing using the Halligan tool. The leaking fuel has been successfully removed. The injured have received medical treatment. One person needs to be taken to the hospital. The injured bus driver received medical attention. Now the witnesses must be questioned. The damage caused must be documented. A crowd has formed around the area, blocking traffic. Disperse the crowd to restore traffic flow. A driver has become aggressive towards bystanders due to traffic delays. He must be arrested and witnesses must be interviewed. A car and a truck have collided at a road intersection. There are injured people who need to be rescued and treated. Location, Northwest St. Andrews Drive. The water supply has been shut off and the damage has been documented for insurance purposes. Diesel and oil are leaking from the truck. The damages were documented. The driver of the car is trapped and must be freed from the vehicle using a cutter and a spreader. Two cars collided on a road. One car overturned and the driver is trapped. Location, Northwest 161st Avenue. One of the vehicles involved in the accident has caught fire and needs to be extinguished. The crowd was successfully brought under control. The witness statements were recorded. The perpetrator has been successfully arrested. Now the witnesses must be interviewed. The person is seriously injured and needs to be treated by an emergency doctor. The witness statements were recorded. The leaking fuel has been successfully removed. The injured person has received medical treatment. Police Patrol Car 6 has arrived at traffic accident and is awaiting instructions. The witnesses must be questioned about the circumstances of the accident. The witness statements were recorded. The person's burn injury must be treated as quickly as possible. The person has been freed and now needs medical treatment. The injured have received medical treatment. One person needs to be taken to the hospital. The injured person has received medical treatment.